All right, the final game that we're going to hit here in the Elite Eight. This was yesterday. This was the second game of the day. Maybe this game is the reason why I was so sick and so thrown for a loop because, I just felt it completely out of it. I was asleep for most of this game, but I didn't miss much because UConn, as they did in the non-conference, they absolutely dominated. Absolutely dominated. The Zags started 1 for 8 from the field. They were down 9-2 to Connecticut, and it just felt like UConn never looked back in this game. Sanogo was great when they doubled. He made some amazing passes. The passing of UConn in general is next level. Caravan is a great piece for them in that 4 spot because he can stretch the floor. He's like a great stretch 4 for them. I just think UConn is fascinating with the way that they share the basketball, with the depth that they have, with the size that they have. Clingan was great in this game. And I was worried about Drew Timme going up against these bigs. And with foul trouble and things like that, UConn absolutely dominated. And now, guess what, Kyle, man? We got Bill Murray in the Final Four, which is what we all wanted.
That's what everybody wants. Old Billy Boy in the Final Four finally. I don't think he didn't get one when he was cheering for U of L like a center. But no, this game, the passing, like you said, was incredible. It just, you got the sense that and you heard this a little bit from Creighton too, from Coach McDermott and Hurley said this too, that they had a moment where, they started strong and then they had to kind of regroup at some point during the year where they were like, we know we're a good team. Hurley said that he was yelling and fighting with his guys a lot and that he just stopped doing that. But the passing throughout this game was amazing. It just felt like, UConn's cohesiveness and connectedness on offense on both sides of the ball. They had incredible rim pressure with Sanogo. I think Donovan Clingan has established himself as a legitimate pro. My certainty that he's going to be an NBA player has just skyrocketed over the course of this tournament.
He's got great IQ too, Kyle, man. One thing I wanted to point out was there was one play where Timme drives, he misses a layup, but he's on the ground, he's behind the play, and Clingan just sprinted the floor and they ended up getting a dunk and an and one, and that was a perfect example of this guy is smart, this guy gets it, and he runs the court like Tyler Zeller. That's who he reminds me of. When you see 7-footers that have that kind of ability to run the floor, Tubelis does this at Arizona as well, but that strikes you, that stands out to you, and Clingan has that quality.
And I think he's way bigger than Zeller too. He's gigantic. Something we got to give credit to Andre Jackson in that game. He had just an absolutely phenomenal basketball game. He had one play. I tweeted this out. You can go find it on my Twitter at @JKyleMann. There was a play, I forget if it was Newton, but there was a pick and roll where he got trapped. Maybe he didn't expect the trap to come. He was trapped on the left side. He throws a roller pass to Clingan, I believe, and Jackson is in the right corner along the baseline, and he sees that the pass is going to be short, and Caravan is just above him on the right side of the 3-point line. He sprints basically to intercept the pass. The ball bounces really early, probably bounces around the top of the key. Gets the ball in one motion, whips it to the opposite side to Caravan for a wide open 3. It was one of the more. It was a very Draymond-y kind of a play. But they just looked. It was amazing because Jordan Hawkins throughout this night, he had a great night. He looked effortless out there. I had somebody compare him to Isaiah Joe. I've said Bryn Forbes. He just has this floating kind of way about him. The crazy thing is, man, he doesn't have to force it. All Hawkins has to do is just be himself and pull gravity. You have to respect him because of how fast he shoots it. I love an off-screen 3, Tate. If there was a vape flavor called off-screen 3, I would take a hit of that every night before bed. UConn just looked dominant, man. I don't. Do you see anybody beating them right now? They're playing better than anybody. I don't think there's any question.
Yeah, honestly, the team that I was excited to see play them because of their bench and their depth was Texas. Texas had the bench, I thought, to match up with the matchups of UConn. I thought that would be a great chess match between those two coaches. So the fact that we're not getting that is fascinating and will be interesting. I'm worried about Omier, same thing as Timme, getting in foul trouble with these bigs. And look, UConn's the only team that's won a national championship in the Final Four, and I think that they should be the favorite. Not because of that, but I think that also adds a certain level of we're supposed to be here, we belong here, we expect to win here. And Dan Hurley's been preaching that all season to this team. They had their little skid in conference play, and they had a players-only meeting. We love players-only meetings. That things change when you have those. And since then, they've just been, the team that we saw in non-conference, and they beat everybody by double digits. That's what they did did in the non-conference. That's why they were number one in the country, right? So they just look like the team that we saw at the start of the year. I think Tristan Newton, I think the ball handlers and the responsibility of initiating the offense has been spread out a lot with this UConn team, so you never know where you're getting your hits coming from. And if they can play inside out, they have the shooters for it. I really think that they're going to be tough to knock out. And I wouldn't be shocked if UConn comes away with a national championship. And every single stat you see is like, first time UConn's done this since 2014. It's like, what happened that year? First time UConn's done this since 2011. What happened that year? First time UConn's done this since 2004. What happened that year? And look, me personally, I'm partial because 1999 UConn, when they beat Duke was, in my opinion, they were destined to go. They were 37-1 on their way to a title. So when Jim Calhoun did that, he also beat Gonzaga in the Elite Eight that year, funny enough, and in the West region. So there's some connective tissue there. But yeah, I just think UConn has checked all the boxes. I really, like I've been saying the entire tournament, Dan Hurley does concern me a little bit as a coach, but he seems like he's gotten it together. He did have, with about 4 minutes ago, they cut to him. He did the "what the F are we doing?" and he did like the big pout, that he always does. Yeah. That was a little bit of there's Dan Hurley that I know. But for the most part, they got it together. They got a great team. And the painting that he did for Luke Murray that they showed, I thought that showed some humility on the part of Dan Hurley, and
he was willing to admit
UConn,
that.
Yeah, right. The fact that he was willing to do that seems very out of character from what you expect. So to me, it's all signs are pointing to UConn. But this tournament, nothing has made sense so far, so you can't really say that. But if you had to pick a team right now as the favorite in the Final Four, I think Connecticut checks all the boxes.
Yeah, a couple just like bullet points here that I think are important. You mentioned UConn in 99. UConn is on the verge. If they do pull this off, they will have one in 99 and in 04, and then they'll have the ones in 11 and 14. Obviously, that would be 5 titles since 1999 with 3 different coaches, which is unprecedented. That's not happened. Right. That hasn't happened in Kentucky, UCLA, North Carolina, any of these blue-blooded schools. They're kind of doing the Duke thing in a way that we don't really give. They don't have the same kind of pedigree. I guess it's because they've had some of the dip. They left their conference and things like that. This is the end of the Drew Timme era. Drew Timme picking up that 4th foul on the stupid discard. I don't care if it was a foul or not. I don't have a lot of sympathy for people who box out with their hands. It was just a stupid play. But for Gonzaga, season low in points at 54. Their previous low is 63 against Baylor on December 2nd. And it's the team also that Texas crushed. I just think the end of the Timme era is a significant thing, Tate. The bigs, they weren't the bigs that we thought. We had all this attention on these name bigs. Bigs have mattered, just not the ones that we thought.
Yeah, and I still think that there's a chance that Drew Timme comes back. I really do. He has one more year of eligibility. Everyone wants to write him off, but I think he could come back. So shout out to the bigs. Also, one big shout out before we get out of here. I want to shout out Rick Pitino because Rick Pitino was leading UConn at halftime. I'm like, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Look how UConn has absolutely blitzed granted, they ended up winning by double digits, but their average margin of victory is 22.5 points right now, and Rick Pitino led them at halftime with Iona. So shout out to Rick Pitino. That's my big picture shout out.
It's kind of like when Captain America grabbed Thanos' fist for a second, and Thanos, you saw his eyes get serious, and you were like, oh, Thanos is going to crush him, but, Captain America... Rick Pitino is Captain America, Tate. Is kind of the point that I'm making. He's America's coach. We love him. I just, I think that he needs all the credit. We never want to short him credit and seize every opportunity to give him credit.